In the year 2000, a Chinese-language film swept the board at the Academy Awards. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was like nothing the West had ever seen. Set in a China of old, here was a dazzling fairy tale of heroic sword fighters with superhuman abilities. But for Chinese audiences, this was hardly new at all. By the time Crouching Tiger was released, the swordplay film was already 70 years old. Director Ang Lee owed a debt to a tradition nurtured in Hong Kong through 3 generations. Martial arts movies are as old as Chinese cinema itself. Set among the towers of modern-day Hong Kong are ancient Chinese towns. Their permanence a testimony to the enormous popularity of a unique genre of cinema. These are the studio lots, where actors recreate a China of myth and legend in films whose plots draw on over 2,000 years of history. The sword fighters of the cinema, like the Knights of the Round Table, wander the land righting wrongs and protecting the weak. In Chinese, they call it Wu Xia, or martial chivalry. In Wu Xia films, the swordsman is bound by a strict code of honor.
好注重承諾同埋即係路見不平拔刀相助咁，同埋又有一種即係好瀟灑嘅風采咁樣。
一部武俠片或者一部功夫片，一定係有正同負，即係等於一個正派同一個反派。反派同正派係對立嘅，就一定要會報仇啦。
It's a good guy doing something else for the poor people. You know, it's a this kind of the story we call Wu Xia.
The swordsmen inhabit a fictional world the Chinese call Jianghu.
孤零零的一个人，一把刀，没有朋友，没有爱。从黄昏到黑夜，从海角到天涯。不过，我要告诉你一件事：人越出名，就越孤独。
In the swordplay classic The Magic Blade, the chivalrous knight destroys a corrupt swordsman who tries to control the swordplay world. But true to the Confucian code of Wu Xia, he's uninterested in worldly reward.
你还要去哪儿？难道，你看不出这天外山庄还有许多财富、权力等着你吗？
你把它留给那些要找死的人吧。
就我成日都講，武俠片唔係淨係武俠面武俠，唔係話要寫呢個武俠把劍幾叻。故事講嘅係教人與人為善啦，或者係教啲道德觀念俾人哋咁樣，一定有裏邊有個中心思想，就唔係話啊淨係飛來飛去釣幾條威也啊，走啊飛檐走壁啊，咁咪踩幾塊竹葉啊，咁唔係淨係咁樣。
Wu Xia stories have been a staple of Chinese fiction for centuries, and were still highly popular at the beginning of the 20th century, when Chinese cinema was born. The Wu Xia stories contained supernatural elements. The swordsmen of old were believed to possess palm power, energy emitted from the hand which could make a sword fly. These required some of the world's first special effects. In the stories, the heroes could perform superhuman leaps. To simulate this for the screen, the actors were first filmed jumping down. Then the shot was reversed. For the flying swords and palm power effects, the editors initially painted these directly onto the negative. When printed, they appeared as white. A recurrent feature was the giant eagle which swept down and rescued heroes from danger. The earliest films were made in the 1920s in Shanghai, then the mecca of the Chinese cinema industry. The first major martial arts film, The Burning of the Red Lotus Monastery, was made here in 1928 and used a published Wu Xia story for its plot. Although numerous episodes were released, only these photographs remain. Qin Shi Ang, the world's first true swordplay star, worked on the film. She began learning martial arts at the age of 8 and still practices at the age of 93. When she was only 16, she was employed on The Burning of the Red Lotus Monastery to instruct the actors.
佛像红的时呢，我教佢哋點樣飛人，點樣打。那麼女仔啊，又飛起嚟嘅喎，嗰陣時冇掉我牙嘅喎，下晚啊又路上咁樣飛過，好難。咁啊，所以紅女士咪出名咯。咁啊，我就睇到佢仲哇咁靚啊，哎呀唔容易。
Qin Shi Ang went on to become the cinema's foremost martial arts star, moving from Shanghai to Hong Kong. She always performed her own stunts and insisted the fighting be for real.
而家呢而家習功夫係容易啊，冇以前咁難。以前真功夫，棒跳就真個跳，打真個又打啊。不過有時候有呢啲打人。
If the producers found their plots in the Wu Xia novels, they found their martial artists in the theater. Beijing opera is a mixture of narrative, song, and acrobatics, and comes with ready-made fight scenes, intricately choreographed and rehearsed. Actors from the opera were initially hired to perform a similar role in the movies. The Beijing opera actors brought to the screen a balletic quality of choreography which would influence martial arts films to this day.
清明宝剑，圣龙拳，任凭鲤魚江南鶴。
電影入邊嘅武俠打鬥，實在佢係有京劇嘅武打嘅表現技巧咧，係搬過嚟嘅。但係有唔同就係咩咧？佢加上咗即係電影嘅特別嘅技巧，例如剪接啊、蒙太奇啊、單鏡頭啊，甚至係一啲拉歪也嘅技巧咁樣咧，就比原來嘅京劇嘅表現技巧就更加好睇。
In the film Vengeance by the great Hong Kong director Jiang Shan, the target of an assassin just happens to be a Beijing opera star. The chance to intercut the murder scene with a stage performance must have seemed too good to pass up. Hong Kong cinema owed its rise initially to the fall of Shanghai cinema. It was to Hong Kong that Chinese filmmakers fled in 1937 when the Japanese invaded. Others followed with the communist victory in 1949. They brought the wuxia tradition with them, although it wasn't until the 1960s that the swordplay films became big box office. Buddha's Palm, released in 1964, was a major success, even though it had scarcely evolved from the films of the 1930s. Here again were all the old tricks of the Wu Xia epic playing to a new generation. The Magic Eagle was played by Hong Kong's leading stuntman, Chan Chupan.
呢隻鷹啊，喺打方面要有鷹嘅動態，有時啊同啲壞人打咁啊2、3下就已經打低對方噶啦，因為隻鷹佢係神鷹啊嘛，嗰隻鷹啊就當年咧都好多嗰啲觀眾啊同埋啲細路仔啊都好中意睇嘅，即係從佢咁多嘅畜生啊禽獸啊，我就最中意就呢隻神鷹。
Buddha's palm was packed with every kind of animation. The villain's secret weapon was a giant foot he could grow at will.
龍劍飛，你出啲嘢都冇用噶啦！今日你一定死喺我天殘腳之下。
其實如來神掌呢套戲好出名嘅，我諗在座所有中國人都應該睇過嘅，係一個好出名嘅經典故仔嚟嘅。咁當然拍嘅時間咧，佢就唔需要俾我參考㗎啦，因為我好細個就已經係睇粵語長片嗰啲黑白嗰啲，成個故仔我都知道係啲乜嘢。
The remake in which Wai Ying-hung starred was in 1982. By now, the animations had become more sophisticated. So too had the technique of flying the actors. For a long time, Hong Kong directors had struggled to find a realistic way to portray the swordsman's weightless leaps. Running the film backwards was one option. Another was this.
我哋以前香港拍戲，多數啊都係嗰個導演呢個演員咁樣一跳 fake pan， 跟住個人喺嗰邊咁樣嘅就再一跳，咁啊叫做飛檐走壁。
In due course, techniques were introduced from the circus, the trampoline, and wires for flying. The 1960s and 70s saw the height of Wu Xia film production. Leaders in the genre were the Shaw Studio, who could count some of Hong Kong's top directors amongst their number. Preeminent amongst these was King Hu. In 1965, Hong Kong cinemas premiered a new film by Hu, which would become the benchmark for all future swordplay films. With stunning costumes and exotic scenery, King Hu brought a new aesthetic to the martial arts genre. Come Drink With Me starred Crouching Tiger's Jade Fox, then a 19-year-old dancer, Zhang Peipei.
I mean, director King Wu, they make a Chinese martial art movie go to another stage. Come Drink With Me actually is very different with the other martial art movie at that times, because that times martial they do have martial art movie, but the fighting part especially, just like opera, so it's not real fighting.
Zhang's character is the mythical swordswoman Golden Swallow, on a mission to rescue her brother being held hostage by bandits. She arrives at an inn where they lie in wait for her. The pre-fight scenes are famous for their suspense, assisted by a percussive soundtrack with echoes of Beijing opera. This scene, the first to be shot, took over a week while Hu experimented with new styles.
So we're all learning. Even I think King is starting to learn how to really shoot all the fighting scene, because he never know what's exactly will come out like, what kind of things.
The fighting in Come Drink With Me, at once theatrical and balletic, also suggests the Beijing opera tradition. Cheng Pei, a rising star of the Shaw Studio, was a dancer, not a martial artist at all.
動作處理方面咧係一針見血，即係唔會話拖泥帶水嘅。佢啲動作係好乾脆同埋好漂亮，係好注重嗰種形態嘅美。睇佢電影嘅時候，有陣時感覺係好似睇到一幅一幅嘅山水畫。
King Hu made frequent use of smoke and light for artistic effect. He chose exotic landscapes as a backdrop to his swordplay.
说你不要动，你马上就要闭住气，不要动。无论看见什么、听见什么，都不能动，行不行？行。好。
In The Valiant Ones, a famed martial artist known as the Whirlwind is hired by the authorities to go after a gang of Japanese bandits.
大叔，别动。 好了，好家伙。
The Valiant Ones is a much later film than Come Drink With Me and shows a marked evolution in King Hu's style. By now, he's less interested in the choreography of the actors than in the movement of the camera and the speed of editing. King Hu claimed he invented the 8-frame shot. But he readily acknowledged that there had been another influence in his films, Japan.
當時60年代嗰啲日本武俠片啊，譬如盲俠啊之類嘅武俠片啊，係對香港電影做出好大嘅推動力同埋刺激力。因為佢哋喺呢個服裝啊、造型啊、佈景啊、鏡頭運用啊、燈光啊、道具啊，每一方面都好個水準都係超越咗香港當時嘅粵片嘅武打片、刀劍片。咁佢哋會令到香港人覺得，咦，武俠片可以去到每一個範圍都可以豐富個戲本身嘅組織同埋機理嘅噃。
In this preview theater at the Shaw Studios, the directors would gather together for viewings of Japanese samurai films. Amongst them was Zhang Che, who went on to become the best-loved of all Hong Kong's directors, his name synonymous with Wu Xia movies. In Golden Swallow, his hero copies a favorite trick of the Japanese directors.
咁另外一啲好常見啊，喺香港武俠片都見一刀俾你，然後側邊4、5個人跌低嗰啲係好顯然係呢個靈感係來自日本片嗰種斬法。
Building on the foundation of Japanese techniques, Zhang began to evolve his own revolutionary style of Wu Xia film. In Golden Swallow, he presents a new kind of hero in the character of Silver Rock, a violent, psychologically disturbed man driven by revenge.
求求你，饶了我的狗命吧！
大侠，我也求你饶他一命。
He was a prototype for future Zhang loners who exemplified what he called Yang Gong, the masculine virtues of sacrifice and brotherly loyalty. Women were sidelined to subordinate love interest roles.
你们就不理我了？
来，抓住我袖子。
雷雷，我从来就没对你笑过。
Above all, Zhang took violence to new heights.
導演可能為咗想喺舊有嘅形式上面再創新啲，唯有再好似食白粉或者吸毒咁樣，不斷將啲血一路加重啲，一路加強啲，將暴力升級。
大丈夫言既出，驷馬難追。我斷翅一臂，退出江湖。
拖下去，破釜挖心。
現實血腥暴力嗰度打滾嘅，血淋淋嘅，佢唔會同你講思想境界，唔會同你講哲學嘅，亦係咁樣。佢嘅戲係非常之賣座。香港嘅販夫走卒，香港嘅後生嘅一代嘅青少年，全部都睇佢嘅電影。佢嘅戲差唔多係每一套電影個票房咧都過100萬嘅。
Chang's most famous swordplay film was released in 1967. A mammoth hit at the box office, the one-armed swordsman tells the story of Fan Gang, the best student in a sword school, who loses his right arm in a quarrel with the master's daughter. He's found and taken in by a young woman, Xiao Man. Xiao Man is assaulted by members of a rival sword school. Fan Gang is humiliated by being unable to defend her. She shows him a secret manual left by her own swordsman father on how to fight with the left hand.
你看看这个有用没有？
Fang submits himself to rigorous retraining and returns to the sword school to save the master from his rivals, prepared to sacrifice his life.
师恩深重，弟子要不能解救师门危難，也甘願同死。
所謂叫陽光咧，我哋可以咁樣解釋法嘅，即係話唔怕死嚇，即係死有呢個輕於鴻毛，死有重於泰山。咁啊，佢會係乜嘢咧？係會喺嗰個 moment 咧決定係認為生死邊樣係最重要。喺嗰個 moment 佢係會作一個決定。如果佢嗰個剎那間佢覺得友誼係決定嘅話，佢係會乜嘢放棄佢嘅生命嘅。
Chang now created the hero as martyr. Dressed in white to show up the bloodstains, the swordsman sets out to fulfill his mission of revenge and justice, indifferent as to whether he lives or dies. In the film Vengeance, screen idol David Chang is mortally wounded, but nevertheless returns to finish the job.
所以佢身上面就算係中咗好多刀，好傷，但係佢意志力嗰方面咧，佢依然要係先殺咗嗰個人先，自己死唔緊要，處之度外㗎啦。當時嘅英雄全部都係即係可以講係死冇對佢嚟講唔係好大件事。最緊要完成咗嗰單任務。
咁啊，當然為咗要表達呢種陽光性咧，就死得壯烈咧，就一定要嘅。咁所以你喺張徹嘅電影入邊咧，好暴力的死咧，就經常見嘅。例如話《13太保》入邊咧，姜大衛係俾人5馬分屍嘅，即係將佢綁住喺 即5隻馬度，然後5隻馬跑開時候咧就拉成一嚿嚿咁樣嚇。
雖然拍得好暴力，但佢拍得好靚。到真正死嘅時候根本見唔到我樣嘅，其實只不過係嗰個形象上嗰個視覺上俾觀眾感到好似好暴力。咁當時亦都用過好多血漿，但係佢用嘅鏡頭啊，各方面啊，其實我唔知你懂唔懂，係真係死都好浪漫嘅嗰場戲。
Cheng Che died in 2002, leaving a lasting legacy to Hong Kong cinema.
香港電影工作者咧，有啲就繼承咗佢嘅風格，有啲就學習嘅佢嘅嗰個鏡頭嗰個運用技巧。最主要咧，就係話喺描寫男性嘅嗰種氣概同埋嗰個個性方面咧，都係好受張氏嘅影響。甚至我而家拍緊即係所謂嗰啲警匪片啊、英雄片啊，甚至我而家拍緊荷里活嘅電影啊，所有男主角嘅嗰種氣概咧，都係繼承張氏嗰種嘅特色嘅。
But other directors would now take swordplay in a different direction. In the mid-1970s, Cha Yun, an accomplished director of dramas, began a new wave of Wu Xia films, introducing greater depth of character and plot. In Killer Clans, the swordsman falls in love with the daughter of the man he's been hired to kill.
蝴蝶永远活在春天里，春天过了，它的美丽也就消失了。
所以有人说，蝴蝶像爱情，它美，它短暂，它来的时候你不捉住它，春天过了，想抓也没有了。
咁點知呢部戲嘅拍法咧，我就同以前嘅武俠片唔同，因為我注重咗人性同埋人情嗰方面，譬如愛情啊、友情啊同埋人性啊，有好多嗰啲嘢加落去，咁變咗係另外一種比較有戲劇性啲嘅武俠片，咁所以成咗一種潮流咯。
你怕死？
不，我不怕死，因為死的永遠是站在我對面的人。
Chau's films still contain fight scenes every bit as exciting as any by his predecessors.
小姐，小姐，小姐。
For the choreography, he continued the tradition of employing martial artists with special expertise.
我都同普通導演一樣啦，交俾武術指導啦。即係而家好流行啦，啲武術指導紅到晒，紅到個個過晒荷里活啦。
The martial arts choreographers had become indispensable to the Wu Xia directors. Most famous of all was Lau Ka-leung, who worked for Chang Che. Lau was a master in martial arts who used his knowledge to teach actors how to fight. He went on to become one of Hong Kong's top directors as well as an actor. Today, he's shooting and starring in a new film being made in Shanghai. Lau brings to his films more than just a knowledge of sword fighting. His fight scenes often involve the use of up to 18 different historical Chinese weapons.
係要轉出嘅 run。我再讀下呢個位，呢位咧，一食咗一拉咧，唰拉啊！呢手斷。呢個兵啊叫矛，點解會彎嘅咧？因為咧喺戰場打仗嘅時候咧，一次咧係唔夠嘅，一次係扭出嚟嘅。
呢啲嘅血擋。如果你刺咗人哋咧，用呢啲擋住人嘅血，唔好俾嗰啲血打佢自己。心呢個血你講呢個兵器。兵器之中咧最惡槍，佢快，咪嗰陣彈啲槍快，同埋距離個位好遠。
The diversity of ancient Chinese weapons is a feature of many swordplay films. There are 18 in all, and in Legendary Weapons of China, Lau Ka Leung set out to use every one of them in a single fight scene.
仲有兵器啊！
其實18般武藝呢套戲好難拍嘅。咁我拍嘅時間，我真係要識18樣嘅兵器。咁但係有一啲咧係我會經常接觸嘅啦，刀槍劍戟呢啲我都常拍戲都會接觸到。咁但係有一啲我係完全未接觸到嘅。咁變咗我拍嘅時間我要學啦。
But there are some weapons that are new to everyone.
看见大师傅，起来。
In One-Armed Swordsman, Chang Che first introduced the idea of a secret weapon, one taken not from Chinese history, but devised by the ingenuity of the props department.
齐家神刀64路，师傅创制的这个金刀锁也是64招，专门克制齐家的刀，索取他的兵刃，尺寸方位无不计算清楚。
师兄，你这个金刀锁对付齐家刀法，那真是太妙了。
過去片廠制度咧就好公式化嘅，從來唔會考慮做特別嘅武器道具嘅。咁啊，但係今次咧就邵氏咧就會考慮到做好多特別嘅武器道具。咁啊，呢個戲開咗先河之後咧，後來嘅邵氏電影咧係好多即係所謂叫做特技道具嘅。
启奏圣上，这就是血滴子。这个玩意儿怎么能在100步之内取人首级呢？这血滴子追杀敌人急如流星，凭此链操纵，一旦命中敌人首级，杀招自动落下，拉动链条，3片利刀瞬即弹出，敌人当时暴毙，身首异处。
In The Flying Guillotine, the weapon is the story. A wicked Manchu emperor secretly recruits a special guard to be trained in its use for political assassinations. The hero is the one who breaks ranks and escapes. When they come after him, it's his skill with the guillotine which saves his life. In Heroes of the East, a Chinese and a Japanese martial artist marry.
咦，唔係家裝，係家生嚟喎！哇，仲有刀添啊！咦，呢啲乜嘢嚟㗎？我唔知啊，我都未見過嘅。老婆，呢啲兵器
呢啲兵器係我叫人喺日本運嚟嘅。
Their respective weapons soon become a source of rivalry.
呢種係金錢錶。
呢啲係日本鐵海星。
呢啲係飛針。
呢啲係飛環。
呢啲係飛刀。
日本飛刀。 嘅？
你睇唔到噶啦，呢種係就戰。
就戰。
Eventually, as the quarrel gets out of hand, even the food and chopsticks become weapons.
暗起，睇住啦！
But amongst the multitude of weapons, in the end, it's the sword which reigns supreme.
全部都係靠腕力同臂力。刀嘅打法同運用係要緊貼自己嘅身體，一來可以保護自己，二來亦都好走動靈活。如果刀向外不緊貼自己嘅咧，會好危險俾敵人進攻，而且亦都唔靈活。類似擋自己，擋人哋攻擊。
Lau Kai-fai is one of Hong Kong's top martial arts actors. He's appeared in over 60 films, nearly a third directed by his brother, Lau Ka-long. Lau Kai-fai is himself a shifu and trains his own disciples to act in films. The moves are rehearsed in slow motion as there's potential for serious injury.
好似做咗動作演員，有冇機會受傷咧？呢個係100%係會。逢係有動作嘅嘢，都會有意外。
我拍咁多戲，受傷次數都唔少㗎啦。但係都好好彩，即係冇乜大嘅傷。咁啊，譬如講整親隻吉親隻眼啊，撞親個鼻啊，手腳啊都即係扭親啊，腰骨啊。
咁但係你知唔知我練呢啲兵器咧係打到自己呢度，我記得呢度又穿咗啦，啲手咧全部係俾嗰啲打到爛晒啦、損晒啦。
Women martial artists fight as realistically as the men and are more than capable of looking after themselves.
小姐，您在庙里头要处处小心啊。
哦，为什么？
It's the assumption of the Wu Xia plot that the swordswomen have superhuman strengths. It's also an idea popular with the audience.
Always, if you do something else, nobody can. They always like it. That's why I think they believe. Even now, people ask me, you really know how to kill people? I say, you want to try?
In Come Drink With Me, it's the swordswoman who's the real star. Zheng Peipei's heroine fights alone for the whole first hour of the film before she eventually joins forces with the male lead. Unlike the male actors, the actresses usually have no prior training in martial arts.
Martial art directors, they teach us, teach me for everybody how to fight in the set. Actually, to me, it's just like a dance steps, learning dance steps. Because I think we all have different way. For the guy, maybe they don't think this way. But for me, it's as a dancer, so I think it's like just a step of dance.
One thing the actresses are not expected to learn is acrobatics. It's the stunt double who steps in to perform the somersault. In the great days of Wu Xia production, the only available stunt doubles were men.
如果我未睇過個女明星啊，佢都唔係明星嚟。或者我可能生嘅細粒啲，係嘛靚啲，即化嘅妝咧，裝個女人嘅樣係嘛，個個都笑啊！哇！你有冇搞錯啊？你仲靚過我嘅，即係嗰啲講笑咁講。
But it's real women who decide the outcome in Come Drink With Me, when the heroine is joined by an entire squadron of female warriors.
Am I enjoyed doing martial art? Of course. It's the only time you can be a hero. You always win.
The idea of the strong and powerful woman is rooted deep in Chinese legend. One ancient myth of the aristocratic Wang family was brought to the screen as 14 Amazons.
The marshal
What was he?
was killed in battle.
The last of the family's menfolk has been lost. Now only the Wang women remain.
You still have 500,000 reserve troops. All right, why can't they be used now?
Because they have no general.
You provide the troops and we'll provide the general.
Who?
Me.
When the country needs defending, it's the women, led by great-grandmother, who lead the army to victory, overcoming every obstacle in their way. Naturally, they possess superhuman strength, so when their forces find themselves separated by a gorge, the Wang girls quickly come up with a solution.
Hold on tightly.
Right, all right. Okay.
And stand firm. This is very tricky. Now! Change hands.
As with all swordplay films, the Amazons can take on many times their own strength. As the Wu Xia films developed in the 60s and 70s, it appeared incumbent on the director to ensure his lone fighter faces greater and greater numbers.
其實全世界觀眾都去睇武俠片嘅觀眾或者動作片嘅觀眾都期待緊呢啲場面出現，所以導演不過係滿足佢哋嘅期待，死多啲人。我覺得好值回票價咁嘅意思嘅啫。
呢個係一個武俠片，並非寫實片。觀眾係要求一個 excite。佢唔希望個主角會輸噶嘛，輸咗唔會好睇㗎，會拉開張凳就走㗎啦。
呢樣嘢係一種文化嚟，係中國一種文化嚟嘅。因為我哋有咧武俠世界嘅幻想咁同埋就係話全世界咧好多人咧開始都係唔接受嘅，咁唔可能話點解一個人可以打咁多人啊，同埋即係打幾都唔死啊！但係我哋而家後尾咧慢慢咧，佢即係知道咗中國文化同埋呢一種係一種幻想嚟嘅。
When David Chang walks onto the bridge in New One-Armed Swordsman, the audience knows perfectly well that by the time he reaches the other end, only he will be alive.
有一個鏡頭係由橋頭打到中間嘅。嗰度嗰陣時咧，就好似有2-3部機器拍嘅，已經好先進㗎啦。咁就招數咧，你一定要係除咗記得招數之外咧，仲要顧住啲鏡頭位喎，因為我隻手擺喺後邊㗎嘛，咁又要避咗佢咯喎。但係好彩咧，就係因為啲武師咧，我都好熟嘅， 所以我記得嗰個人嚟咧就會咩招數，呢個人嚟咧就會咁樣殺，呢個人嚟會咁樣殺，咁就比較，因為我哋因為拍咗好多啦，比較熟啲咧。但係辛苦在咧試好多次，真正拍咧好似係2、3次咁啦，但係打完嗰個鏡頭之後都喘晒氣㗎啦。
Even when he's fatally wounded, the hero usually still has another 20 or 30 people to kill. In The Boxer from Shantung, he manages to fight on for a whole 15 minutes after an axe has lodged in his stomach. This fight, with knives and hatchets, is choreographed much as a sword fight. But The Boxer from Shantung, made only a year after The New One-Armed Swordsman, is not a Wu Xia film at all. This is Jiang Che's first kung fu film and spells the beginning of the end for the fashion for swordplay. By the start of the 1970s, the kung fu film and a new star from America, Bruce Lee, were taking Hong Kong by storm. It looked as if the Wu Xia film's days were numbered. Throughout the 1980s and 90s, the swordplay film lay dormant, but its legacy could still be found in newer Hong Kong styles.
雲兒，你一定要記住，仁者無敵。
Elements of the genre survived in the fantastical films of Choi Hak and Cheng Xiu-chung. Adapted from a best-selling comic book, Storm Riders features similar extravagant powers and magical weapons as those of the Wu Xia swordsman. In today's fantasies, digital technology marries legend to sci-fi. But there's another, altogether different claim to the inheritance of Wu Xia. John Woo believes the genre evolved into his own modern gunplay films.
咁咧就嗰種咁嘅氣氛嘅營造同埋個鋪排同埋動作嘅嗰種動感咧係好武俠片嘅。咁咧就揸住雙槍咧，等於武俠片裏邊你見到黃宇姜大衛揸住雙刀或者係一劍在手，另外揸住把短刀咁樣。咁咧有陣時我唔係話好想強調暴力，我只係好多時係想美化一種動作。
Today's public may have an appetite for action movies, but the phenomenal success of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon shows that new audiences can be found for traditional swordplay stories.
人捧演都係生長嘅，老啲去咗，後生一路出嚟，後生咪睇嗰啲啊嘛，咁我中意睇嗰啲咯。一改變呢班就睇嘅，永遠係短著，武術係短嘅咁全。
Digital effects have brought a new level of sophistication and a new international audience to the Wu Xia film. Taken together with remastered films re-released from the Shaw Studio Library, the swordplay genre could well be in for a major revival.